If you're going to be a foreigner living in a place in Poland, you have to respect Polish rules. Boom! Boom! Cześć ludzie! What's up people? Hola, JT here. Welcome to another episode. Before we begin, I want to put a little disclaimer, okay? And that is the fact that this episode will be highly subjective, okay? Because it will be based on my own experience and on my opinions. So if you are the type of person that you want the data, you want to see the statistics, if I'm quoting a person or a publication, you want to see a screenshot, right? You want the proof, then maybe this episode might not be for you. But if you are interested in my opinion about the Polish immigration situation from the prism of my own experiences in the places that I've lived and basically me now residing in Poland, then of course I invite you to come on over because we have a lot to talk about. The first thing that we're going to talk about is my backstory when it comes to immigration. I am a Dominican born and raised individual. My parents are both Dominicans. I don't have a second passport. I do have Carta Pobytu now, but that's just a residence permit. I am not yet a citizen of Poland. When I finished university, I decided that I wanted to go to another country to do my master's degree. I went to study to Spain, and the first city I went to was Madrid. The process of requesting visas and permits, in my case, I went there as a student, and my overall first experience as an immigrant came about just basically what you do when you are a student. So I was not really working there, I was just studying. When you're a Dominican that wants to go to Spain, it's not as easy. The visa process is very gruesome and it almost sometimes feels as if they are trying to make it more complicated and more difficult on purpose, just so that you just kind of like give up. Now, having said that, I will tell you that I believe that a country, any given country, has a right to demand whatever they want when it comes to foreigners coming into their country. The second place I went as an immigrant was Austria. When my wife and I got married, I found a job in Austria and we moved there. Now, that gave me a completely different perspective. First of all, because the place itself was very different. It's a Germanic country compared to Hispanic country. And second of all, I went there as an employee. Now, the third place I was an immigrant was in England. What can I tell you? London is London. It's not even England. It's not even the UK. It's its own kind of like habitat. And I actually felt extremely good in London. It's literally like a home to me, even to this day. I live here in Warsaw. I'm extremely happy here. I'm going to spend the rest of my life here. And still I have a soft spot for London because it's so friendly to foreigners. A city literally comprised of foreigners. It's one of those big capitals of the world. And that gave me another perspective. What is it like as an immigrant, as a foreigner, to live in a place where there are other foreigners that have become a little bit of a majority to some degree? So it's like, well, that's for sure a different perspective. The other place where I became an immigrant was in South Africa. I got transferred again, the same job, from London to Pretoria, and I lived there for 2 years. Completely different experiences. I was a little bit more isolated in South Africa, which is why I don't want to talk too much about my experience there, but I did observe a lot of things that later on I will make reference to. And finally, I am here in Warsaw, where I am, once again, an immigrant with a Carta Pobytu. That's golden, I'm telling you, that's golden. I've been waiting for a year and 3 months, so being able to say that I have Carta Pobytu is like, But I've been coming to Poland for more than 10, 11 years, and I have seen a growth, significant growth, in the amount of foreigners that you stumble upon the cities when you are just going out and about. Now, when we specifically talk about Poland and its immigration situation, it's impossible to address this without talking about the war in Ukraine. The year was 2022. Russia decided that now Ukraine needed to be part of Russia. They invaded in February and literally all hell broke loose. And again, I'm not gonna give you statistics, that's not the video, but more than 2 million Ukrainians came through the border with Poland. Now, how many have stayed? How many have continued and moved on to other countries? Again, do your research on Google or ask ChatGPT. But it's undeniable the effect that this has had. Because, for instance, you see so many more Ukrainians in Poland working. You know, it's funny because, as you guys know, I'm studying Polish and I'm starting to, of course, recognize the accent. The Ukrainian accent. I am actually a little jealous of the Ukrainians because they learn the Polish language so fast and so so well. And almost anywhere you go, you can see and hear Ukrainians at the park, sometimes at the pool. And I think that it shows the level of solidarity that Polish people had back then when the war broke out, but still have to this day. Now, listen, don't get me wrong. I know that relationships with the neighbors sometimes can be a little strenuous, and I cannot talk to you about immigration if I don't mention a little bit, for example, the situation with Haiti and the Dominican Republic. These are only my opinions. These views don't represent, views of the Dominican government. I am not a spokesperson for the Dominican government in this particular video. I am just giving you my opinion. Dominican Republic has absolutely no problem with Haiti, like at all. We get along like relatively well. Yes, we're neighbors, and sometimes, especially when you have a country that is a little bit lower when it comes to their socio-economical standards, then of course they're gonna come to the country that is doing a little bit better, and there will be a little bit of, like this guy saying this, the other one saying that. Happens everywhere, right? Like Poles with Germans, or like I guess now Poles and Ukrainians or Belarusians. Like, it happens. Now, does that mean that you hate them? You don't hate them at all, whatsoever. The problem has been the international organizations, or maybe there are international community that has tried to kind of like wash their hands when it comes to Haiti. There are other countries that should respond a little bit more for the situation in Haiti, not the Dominican Republic. To give it to the Ukrainians, what I find interesting, at least again from my perspective and just my observations, is how they have adapted, how they are integrating into the society. I think that is very, very important, extremely important for a successful relationship between a host and a guest. Should we talk about the Ukrainian immigration situation without mentioning the Belarusian immigration situation? I'm not gonna be a reporter from TVN or TVP World and say that, oh, by the way, shout out to TVP World, because they reached out to me and they interviewed me for a little bit. I was part of a segment talking about my experience getting my Carta Pobytu. Basically, you have some migrants that are in Belarus, and they've been misled by the Belarusian government into thinking that they were going to get work permits and visas to go to Belarus, right? Many of these people are people from Asia, from the Middle East, and from Africa, and they were welcomed in Belarus, and the Belarusian government very sneakily just pushed them all towards the border with Poland. And it has created a very difficult situation, and it is very divisive. I'm not gonna take a side here. This is not this type of video. You will make up your own mind. Remember, Vigo's that channel, it's about inclusion. It's not about us dividing and fighting. So whatever you think, express it in the comments, and I'm sure someone will write and answer you and give you another perspective. But basically, these migrants have been pushed to the border with Poland. And now you have very difficult and interesting circumstances where what should Poland do? You have these migrants that are really having a difficult time. They lack food, they lack warmth. Some of them are dying because they are so hungry. They've been eating some of the mushrooms and some plants that are on the forest, and many of them are unedible. They're not from this region, so they don't know what they should eat. And you have also children there that are really having a difficult time. And now, what should Poland do? Should Poland open the borders and say, come, it's okay. We are humanitarians, and we think that we should help you. And there are some people that for sure think that that's what should be done. That this it's unquestionable. There should be no discussion around this. But then you have other groups of people that think, whoa, hold on, we have to protect our borders. We have to protect our land. We have to protect our citizens, right? Because many of these migrants, maybe it's not their fault, but if we open the borders, what will happen is that the Belarusians, or should I say, the Belarusian officials are going to do the same. They're just going to send a bunch of people back into the border because, of course, the Poles are welcoming everybody. So it's a very, very, very gray area. It's very difficult to see black or white, although I know that you might feel very strongly about it and you might feel like, no, there's no gray. This is black or this is white. Make a decision. What I don't agree is obviously with violence. Violence is the problem. There have been reports of some shootings around the border. There have been reports of some of the migrants also being aggressive, because at this point many of these people are acting like caged animals. They don't know what to do. They don't know how are they going to survive. And that is a very real and tangible part of the overall immigration situation that happens here in this country right now as we speak. Another thing that we should talk about that has a direct impact on Poland's immigration circumstance is Brexit. Now, you have in Poland an influx of Polish people that left the country 10, 20, 30 years ago, and now they are returning. They are returning to Poland because, I don't know, they were maybe in the UK, and after what happened with Brexit, everything, and of course, amplified by the pandemic, now they are like, okay, Poland keeps developing and growing and bettering itself, and now you have all these people that, although are Polish citizens, right, to some extent, they also find themselves a little bit like immigrants, if you really think about it, because being an immigrant is not just a status of paperwork or your passport. It's whether you identify with the place that you live in, whether this new place where you reside, do you feel that it represents who you are? And many of those people are, part of what is called Polonia, the Polish people that live abroad, that are Polish and have a lot of Polish things, but they have merged their identity and their customs with the customs of whatever country they have been living in for the last how many years. So that even adds an extra element, and I see it. Happens to me through my social media. People that write to me and they say, oh my God, you're real, that I saw your shorts or your video here on YouTube. I've been living in Chicago for I don't know how many years. Now I'm in Poland and I feel lost. I don't know what to do. I'm trying to get jobs or whatever it is. Now, in the year 2025, it's very rare, extremely rare, that you have a country that doesn't need foreigners, that doesn't need immigration. You cannot always rely on your citizens for different reasons. Like, for example, Poland is a country that is aging, and many countries in Europe are aging. And maybe that is not something that you think about every day right now. But what is going to happen in 50 years? What is going to happen in 100 years? Like, for example, for the Japanese, this is a real problem that they face even right now. So that is something to keep in mind. And whenever you're going to open your borders to foreigners, it has to be done with a plan. It has to be done in an organized manner. So you want the people that are coming to have the right education that is going to serve and is going to be useful to the needs that you have as a country. At the moment, for example, Poland is, based on an article that my wife read, she was the one that told me this, Poland is in need of truck drivers, of teachers, of psychotherapists and psychologists, and also is in need of IT people. In the universities and the programs, the people that are studying or have certain qualifications around those sectors will maybe potentially, I don't know, haven't dug into it, but will potentially have it a little easier when it comes to maybe getting their way here to Poland. That is interesting because that was not always the case, right? That was not always the case. Poland, to some degree, the last 15, 20 years was a somewhat closed country. I always say that the Polish PR department was closed. That's how the officials differ from the actual citizens. With the explosion of social media, the people, you guys watching me here, you are the ones that are promoting Poland, making content, reels, showing photos, and other foreigners are looking and are, oh wow, that's such a great place to be. And they are showing more and more interest coming here. Now, that is a double-edged sword, and it's a complicated matter. I know. I can already see you guys getting on your keyboards to write to me. I sometimes get comments on my videos, particularly in my short form content, my YouTube shorts or Instagram reels and stuff, where people say, hey, stop promoting Poland, because then people are gonna know what we have here and they're gonna come and they're gonna turn Poland into what we see, Germany or France these days. And listen, when a place is exploding with development, when a place is growing so much that all its goodness starts oozing out, it's not because of a person that is promoting it. It's because that place has become such an incredible place to be that you cannot keep the secret. It's up to our leaders to make sure that they enforce the right regulations to protect the country and to protect its citizens. And precisely social media has completely changed the game entirely, not just for the good. Now you see on Instagram or on TikTok a reel with a certain place full of, let's say, group of people misbehaving in a country that is not their own. Or sometimes they come from a country where they don't have the same social norms and regulations, and they go to a place that does have rules and does have parameters, and all of a sudden they don't want to follow them. And I particularly don't agree with that. I don't agree at all. As an immigrant that I am, and that I have been for the last 20 years since I left my country for the first time, I believe in integrating. I believe in understanding that you have an identity, whatever it may be. You have your customs from your country, your birthplace, but you're coming over to a new place with its own rules and its own culture. And it's up to us to embrace that and to merge it a little bit with our own. But most importantly, to respect the rules that have been enforced by the members of that society. So I want to make it clear that my personal opinion, and strong one at that, is that if you're going to be a foreigner living in a place in Poland, you have to respect Polish rules. Something that is important to understand and to reflect upon is the selectivity when it comes to the acceptance of, let's say, foreigners. That is not a problem that is intrinsic to Poland exclusively. This happens all over the world. But it happens in Poland. I've seen it. I haven't experienced it myself, and I should say that. I am lucky. I am lucky because my experience here in Poland has been, for the most part, predominantly and almost overwhelmingly positive. I've been embraced by Polish people. I've been embraced by Poland. I don't know. I am lucky, but I know that that's not always the case. There are people here from other parts of the world, people that look different than me, that have experienced a little bit of that dark side. That, like I said, it's not exclusive to Poland or Polish people, but we're talking about the immigration situation in Poland, right? So let's call a spade a spade. And something that touches me a little bit more personal because of my children is what happens here with Polish people that are born here and that have one parent that is Polish, but they are mixed race or they share nationality, and that is sometimes a little bit difficult. You know, there are some groups that you can read some things that are not always encouraging, because Poland is their country. Like my daughter, she's 5 months old. She was born here, right? My son was born in London, but he's been here since he's 3 years and a half. So by the time he's 20, 25 years old, Poland is going to be, you know, like it's his country. Same with my daughter, but maybe they're going to look a little bit different. Maybe they're going to have different customs because, yeah, we do live in Poland, but they have a dad from a Latin country that also injects a little bit of his own culture and customs into their lives. So what is going to happen with them? And sometimes it's not so simple. Sometimes those people, those individuals, have a little bit of a harder time here in Poland, because to them, they are Polish. They are as Polish as, I don't know, Piotr and Agnieszka, you know, born in Radom. But sometimes they're not treated the same. There is a group here called Afro-Polacy that not always have the easiest of times, because they are Polish, born here. But maybe, like I said, maybe one of their parents is African, or maybe both their parents are Africans, but they came here, they, you know, seeked asylum, or simply they just came for work reasons. And the kid is born here, raised here, speaks Polish without a single accent, but then it's not treated 100% the same. Now, with this example, I am not implying that Polish people are racist, okay? Is there racist behavior in Poland at times? Yes, there is. Is every Polish person racist? No, they're not. Just to make it clear. And ultimately, it's up to our leaders. And this is a great segue into the ending of this video, the last item. And it's the politicians. And these leaders are the ones that hold the responsibility of making sure that they create a well-devised and organized plan of action and the right immigration scheme. Because we are living in the year 2025. It's a globalized world. With the internet, social media, people are discovering places that are as far as the other side of the world. And they no longer want to just stay put. They no longer want to just stay in their little towns and not travel around or leave their country and explore. And what happens when you travel is that you acquire knowledge and you discover things that you had never seen, that you had never even dreamt of. And you might go to a place that all of a sudden you feel a calling to be there. And you are like, wow, this is a place where I can see the rest of my life living in. And hey, why not? If you are a person that is willing to collaborate, to integrate, if you're willing to respect that, you know, that country's culture and traditions, why not? But again, we need our leaders to guide us through that process, because no country in this day and age can isolate itself. Countries need foreigners. Now, how many foreigners and under which conditions? Again, that's up to our leaders to make sure that everything is done with order and that the citizens are protected and that they feel heard and that they feel respected. And that's not always the case. For example, there was a scandal in the Polish government, I don't know, a couple of years ago, where they were selling visas in some consulates and some embassies abroad in countries like India and so on. And people were coming here with the visas that were given to them without meeting the right set of conditions. So that tells you that our leaders are also to be held accountable. It's not only the society. We need those leaders to act and to do their job. Because all this is a very big part and an essential part of the immigration situation here in Poland. Boom! And that's all, guys. That's the end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I repeat before people get in the comments and they attack me. These are just my opinions. It's subjective. I am not a uber divisive person. I do have my point of view on things, and some of them I am quite adamant about. But for the most part, I try to be, most importantly, respectful, and I demand the same in my space. And of course, this is my channel, so although an open forum of discussion, please keep it respectful towards yours truly, and of course towards anybody in the comment section. But I want to hear what you have to say. See you on the next episode. Do widzenia.